Third and fourth match is like still really important because we're playing gauntlet no matter what. It's decided either we have to play 2 best of 5 or 1 best of 5.
Key to beating Immortals, shut down Huni and Rainover as always.
They're pretty prone to overextending and making mistakes.
But that's the Nexus to rip down. The Nexus itself now under fire, running out of health, and there's no chance to defend it. Cloud9 gets the win, and they tie the series.
What was Huni thinking there? There was no way that was going to be even close.
We will try our best to fix our problem, champion select, and like our decision making inside the game.
I hope we go into the next match trying to redeem ourselves.
Welcome to the Air Canada Centre in Toronto, Ontario. North America's best have descended on the Great White North to battle for pride, prestige, and the privilege of representing the region at Worlds. Here's a look live into the lobby. The fans already inside, bringing the hype of the LCS here into Canada. The energy is electric throughout the entire building as everybody's sporting CLG jerseys and Immortal jerseys alike continue to cheer for their fans. We see Darshan Sharp in CLG Special Edition Canadian jerseys themselves, his team prepping for the backstage battle, as well as Immortals, led by the top lane star Huni, bringing his trademark energy and excitement to the arena today. It's going to be an amazing matchup. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rivington Bison III, joined tonight by CounterLogic Gaming's owner, Hotshot GG, as well as analyst Alberto Crumsman Hifo and Isaac Azael Cummings Bentley. Gentlemen, I gotta say, for all of you now, welcome back to Canada. How's it feel to be home?
It's actually unreal to be back home where I grew up, watching Raptors games, watching Leafs games, with my family, and to have them here and be surrounded by thousands of incredible fans is just, I feel a little bit overwhelmed.
It's a wild dream. It feels like home, regardless of where we are in Canada, and I'm just so happy to be able to take part of this experience.
Hotshot, you've played in tournaments all around the world. I gotta ask you though, do you almost feel like you want to be sitting in one of those chairs tonight?
Yeah, I mean, that would have been a dream come true, but it's already a dream come true to be here. The fans are amazing. Like, you guys have such great energy. It feels, I'm so honored to be here. Coming here, playing the third place match, I wasn't, like, in my mind, it wasn't like as exciting as I thought it would be, but when I got here, I was just like, I was blown away. I'm nervous, I'm exhilarated, I'm so happy to be here, so.
Well, congratulations to all the success of CLG. May the best team win as we go ahead with the games today. Now, let's take a look and kick off the broadcast with a look at the playoff bracket. Obviously, TSM and Cloud9 were victorious last week in the semifinals. They will go ahead and face each other tomorrow for the title. But today, it's about today, if you will. Immortals and CLG battle it out for third place and 70 championship points. We're starting to mean quite a bit between these teams. With those 70 points up for grabs today, let's have a look at the broader qualification picture, because the winner automatically qualifies, goes on. Summer Split winner will move on. That leaves the team with the most points accumulated between Spring and Summer to be NA's second seed. And obviously you're fighting from first place, but like CLG in the Spring, if you can get those points, it's gonna help. The third ticket to Worlds goes to the team that wins the North American Regional Qualifier, which is seeded by those sweet, sweet championship points. And while you guys love those championship points, it's also almost up to a few of the other teams to help out CounterLogic Gaming here.
For sure.
For sure. Perfect answer. Yep. So it has been an incredible summer of games, but now it is time to recognize the NALCS MVP. And here to announce the honor is Joshua Jatleesman.
Thank you very much, Riv. And yes, I'm here with something that clearly doesn't belong to me. This award belongs to the 2016 North American LCS Summer Split MVP.
Just by having him on your team, you have like the Bjergsen buff, which is like everyone wants to be like him.
Bjergsen with a 1v2, takes out 2.
Bjergsen is unstoppable in this game.
Gets it, shows him in as well, and there's first blood for Bjergsen.
Oh my goodness.
Billion 1 to 2,000 gold per person. There's the pop. Oh! How did he see him? Bjergsen's just dominating now.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2016 Summer Split MVP, Bjergsen! Bjergsen led TSM to a 17-1 regular season. The best in TSM's history. Take your award. Bjergsen, this is actually your third time winning the MVP award. No one else in North America has won it more than once. What does that mean to you?
Obviously, it means a lot. I think this year it means more than ever because NA has just grown stronger and stronger each split. And this season, I think NA has the strongest individual players that they've ever had. So I honestly didn't expect to win this award today and be here, so I'm very happy.
And speaking of strong individual players, the second place in voting was actually your teammate Doublelift. But tell me about the journey you took with TSM, because while it is an individual award, you need to pretty much be on a good team to win this award. So talk to me about what TSM meant to you this split.
It is a team game, and without my team, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't look good enough to get this award. And I think especially Doublelift has taught me a lot about, he's a very creative player. He makes calls that I would never think of, and he makes me think outside the box a lot. He's very decisive, and he's taught me he's improved me a lot as like a teammate and a caller within the game. So I'm really grateful to have been able to play with Doublelift, and I think he deserves this award just as much as I do.
Thank you very much, Bjergsen. Give it up one more time for the MVP. Let's send it back to the desk.
Absolutely amazing stuff. I'd like to take a moment to welcome Mark Zimmerman to the desk, a staple here on the analyst side. I apologize, Dash isn't here, but you'll have him next week back in the LCS. An amazing thing, Bjergsen, obviously, to get that. He is one of the hardest working players out there, and one of the things I think is awesome about that to touch on is that the teammates themselves say, it makes us want to play better because he's so damn good.
To get a compliment like that, there's honestly no higher compliment than to have some of these other players who are completely world-class saying that you're their inspiration. Yeah. These guys are some of the best in the world at their roles, and they give that much respect to their leader, to Bjergsen.
Yeah, it's good to see it go back and forth, too, where he kind of pays it back to Doublelift, saying that he helps him with the shot calling. It's not all him, and it really is a team game that allows them to be so dominant.
And it's a scary thing, because when he first got here, he was still known, okay, this is going to be an amazing player, and ever since, he has not dropped a beat.
This is getting better.
Yeah,
it's scary.
But that's only going to make skill around the LCS better. We see people like Jensen even getting better, and those are two guys that talk all the time. And sometimes you hear them saying, I'm not even really sure what's good on this patch next, so we'll be able to talk to each other and kind of file it out. And those are actually the two teams we have facing off, which makes it even more awesome in that sense. So looking forward here, there is so much going on this weekend. CLG versus Immortals is going to be up first. Talk a little bit about that match. Counterlogic Gaming obviously having a rough split, but for Immortals to find themselves here again is almost unthinkable.
It's heartbreaking, and you saw it on their faces. Game 5 this time, I think, makes it even worse. They're this close to finally make it to the finals after two of the most successful regular season splits in NALCS history. They're in the third place match again. That's not where they wanted to be. It's not where they thought they would be, and that hurts.
Yeah, and it's going to kind of be out of their control, too, if they ever do, have to get to Worlds. It's not just like, oh, we win this match and we go. It's on other teams as well.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to meet the players right now to kick off the NA Finals as only he can. I am proud to welcome the golden voice of Black Enola.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our combatants for your 2016 North American Summer Split third place match. Introducing first, two-time North American champions and second place finishers from the 2016 Mid-Season Invitational, Counter Logic Gaming!
CLG will not go quietly into the night. Will they really make it the comeback?
CLG show that while Team Liquid's talent may be undeniable, their poise is unbreakable.
Playing in the top lane, it's two-time LCS champion, Deshaun! In the jungle, it's two-time world championship participant, X Smithy! Their man in the mid lane, 2016 Spring Split champion, Hooey. It's MSI's group stage all-team AD carry, Stixie! Their star support and team captain of CLG, Afromoo! And the coach of CLG is Six. Ladies and gentlemen, Counter Logic Gaming! Introducing their opponents, it's one of LCS's newest squads. In their freshman year, they've managed to dominate the league in back-to-back splits. It's the group that never says die, Immortals!
Here's Photo, huge ulti back in, scoops them all in. That's the game, that's the match, that's playoff secured for Immortals. Immortals put on a show.
In the top lane, it's world semifinalist, Hooey! In the jungle, three-time first All-Pro LCS jungler, Rainover. In the mid lane, former LCS champion, Hobelter. At AD carry, it's three-time LCS champion, Wild Turtle! Next is the Spring Split first All-Pro team to support Adrian. And coaching for Immortals, Dylan Falco. Toronto, let's hear it one last time for our combatants, CLG and Immortals.
It's going to be one heck of a matchup. All the players poised on stage, showing they are completely ready. And I think if they're not, the crowd has then energized them, because I am sitting here grinning like an idiot every time everyone cheers. I'm feeling what Isaac is feeling, just being home. And this isn't even my home.
It's not cold in here, but we're getting chills.
Oh my word.
The turtle
awesome.
entrance. How cool is that?
Yeah, the flag.
There's nothing better than that. That's every
Okay.
kid's dream.
I can't wait. So after a tough semifinal round losses for CLG and Immortals, each team gets an opportunity now to right the ship here in the third place match and grab the 70 championship points along the way that we talked about.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is that they need to win and have TSM also win. And
Right.
Having been in that position before when we were coaching, I was coaching last season, it feels terrible to hope that like you have to just trust this team to do the right thing.
And ultimately, when it comes down to that, you just forget about it and focus solely on the game, because ultimately they do have Worlds in sight. They want to qualify for that, even if they have to get past a regional qualifier. So improving their own play and looking into their mistakes is going to be more important than worrying about if somebody else wins it for you.
Right, and you have to think, if Cloud9 does win that sends CLG to the regional qualifier, and they've already been having a tough year, can they duke it out even more? They kind of need it here.
Yeah, exactly. You need to be able to step up in these high pressure situations, perform on this kind of a stage. And, last week they kind of faltered. They need to show that they are going to be that tough opponent. Whether TSM wins or C9 wins, they have to be confident that they can make it to Worlds.
And a good thing to point out, too, is the fact that they were against TSM, who is one of, if not the most dominant team we've ever seen in North America. So it's a little bit of a push and pull where it's like, they might have underperformed a little bit, but they are against the Goliath of TSM. So
that is the question there in that match, though. Could you say CLG played bad and TSM played really good, or was it kind of a combination?
It's always a little mixture of both. CLG obviously did have things to improve on. They did have a little bit of issues before coming into the semifinals, but I think that they should be able to resolve those rather quickly and figure out a way to get back on track.
Right, and on the flip side, you have Immortals who, I mean, they are like heartbreak incarnate. Like, it's just hard to imagine like a more unfortunate circumstance to a team. Well, not circumstance, but outcome given what we were expecting.
Yeah.
A very familiar position for them now. Obviously, such a strong split, but do they tunnel themselves into this position? Who's to blame? Is there anybody to blame? Does it just happen?
I think right now there's no need to be pointing out blame at anybody, but I think it's most likely looking like a repeat of what happened last split, where they can't make it out of the semis and immediately tunnel down, focus on what the next objective is, which is making it out of this match.
Right, I think that's really where you see how a team's like composure is, where they lose this heartbreaking way, but then they come back with fire and just dominate in the third place match.
And that's what we think about is, can they keep that confidence going? This could be a huge blow to that. And then we just have to see what kind of happens in the regional or next year. It becomes very, very crazy in that sense. Huni was a focal point in IMT and C9. His consistent dominance in that top lane also makes for kind of an occasional failure. We talked about the high highs, but also the low lows.
And this is a guy where it's like, if you can't love him at his worst, you don't deserve him at his best. He's gonna feed in some of those games, but he's also, people gave him so much crap last weekend, and he hard carried both their wins. He did over 1,000 damage per minute. He's crushing in a lot of these games, and yes, he plays high risk, which means that sometimes he can fall flat, but he also really does have some incredible performances.
The only downside is that he requires so many resources from the team to actually get him to that point. While I think it's amazing that he can actually pull this off, Immortals has to find a way to get more consistency and make their plan a little less obvious. I mean, you heard CLG knowing, same thing as always, shut down Reignover, shut down Huni, but it's not that easy.
And some credit needs to be given to Pobelter, who has played a lot better this season, and that's a guy that can be given that attention from Reignover and can carry games as well.
Yeah, I think that's really the thing that makes Immortals tick so well, is that they have this very self-dependent mid laner, a top laner who wants all that attention, and Snowball in a bot lane that can do whatever's asked of them. And that's kind of how they've worked this whole time. But like you said, it does lead to a little bit of predictability where it's like, where's Reignover going? Probably top side.
And that predictability, it's all season long. How much time does it actually take to change it? Is there even a chance that they did between then and now?
It's unlikely, but I mean, regardless of that, I think CLG's plan around that will be quite obvious as well. So both teams are just kind of clash head to head like a bunch of rams.
And the fact of the matter is, predictable or not, these guys hardly ever lose, right? Yeah. He's 51-3 in the last two regular season splits, so it's like, oh, he's so predictable, it's so easy to beat him. Well, 51 times out of the last 54 times, people knew what he was going to do and lost anyway.
The interesting thing is that their first loss in spring was to CLG, where they were able to shut him down really hard. And I know it's a very different split in game from there, but it was a standard lane game, and that's kind of what we're in right now. So I think you see that CLG has the tools to enact this game plan of shutting down Huni.
All right, so we have a little time to go in. I actually want to look at the jungle matchup in this because Reignover versus Xmithie seems a little tilted in Reignover's favor. What can Counter Logic Gaming do off the bat to kind of stop that? Because we already talked about Huni. Reignover Huni is something that needs to be stopped.
So Reignover is an absolute beast. He's so good. He knows where to be at the right time, knows how to punish well, to get himself ahead and transition that lead into his allies. But the one thing that CLG can do that they've been doing for a while now is utilizing their laners to help with the jungle. So for example, Xmithie can't really take over the jungle by himself. If he has his laners, if he has who he come in, help him push the wave. All right, you're invading S2, setting up vision, making sure that you know where Reignover is. Same thing with the dual lane, as we saw them in their match against TSM. They should be able to keep tabs on him. Unfortunately, Immortals did the same thing and with a little bit more success.
And I mean, jungle support synergy is obviously huge. And Afromu is a guy who has been massive for this team. He's a leader on the team. And him and Xmithie work very, very well together. And I think especially when you have Afromu on those playmaking champions, it can be pretty scary when you have those two guys up in your face in the jungle on plays, on champions like Bard, where he can make so many plays.
Yeah, I think that's really the interesting things when we start looking at the champ pools, because jungle is one that's kind of stagnated into this Rek'Sai Gragas matchup. And you don't have this surprise factor of like, what's Reignover going to play? Because he sometimes busts out that Olaf, those kinds of picks that you're not quite ready for. And he's able to take over games with that. And the fact that it's stagnated so much I'm interested to see if the teams have prepared anything interesting for themselves, because it would be the kind of thing where you can surprise somebody, because everyone's just expecting, I take Rek'Sai, you take Gragas.
Now see, that'll switch from side to side. Looking at the mid lane now, Huhi versus Pobelter, a guy that stepped in for Pobelter on that team to make sure things could keep going, was able to carry for the championship, but now these two face off against each other. And it kind of seems like they both have glowing moments, but also can almost be neutral in a game and not have anything to do with it.
Well, both these mid laners don't get a whole lot of help from their team. They're more like, here's your self-sustaining. I mean, CLG has been vocal about trying to make sure that they can help out Huhi, have him influence other aspects of the map. And Pobelter just gets left on an island because they trust him. They know what he can do with little resources. He dishes out significant amounts of DPS for the gold that he's getting. But even then, these laners don't really use their advantages to the fullest. So it has to come down to, again, the supports and the junglers, making sure that you can transition the advantages that mid lane can get on their own into the lanes.
I think the thing to worry about, too, is the fact that Pobelter doesn't really have, like, that valley, where he's like, oh, he's doing pretty good, and then he just gets, destroyed one game. Whereas we've seen he sometimes gets abused pretty hard. And I don't think Pobelter is exactly the matchup that's going to do it, but you do have to worry about just that jungle pressure one game where you just, your mid gets blown open, your turret's down at 10 minutes, and then they're exerting their pressure on the rest of the map.
All right, so I'm not going to hold you to this. We're not going to graph it out throughout. We have 1 minute left before we have to throw to the game and get this awesome series of events underway. I'm going to ask you guys, how do you think this is tilting? Which way is it going to go, do you feel?
Hopefully no one's tilting.
That's the
concern.
concern.
Mark, starting with you.
I would go for Immortals, and I'm going to say 3-0. I think that they are just so strong. Yeah, I'll go way over the top on this. I think it's 3-0. Right. I think it's the kind of thing where once they get momentum, assuming they win the first game, they're just going to ride off that. The crowd is obviously crazy, and I think they're the kind of emotional, not like emotional, but when they get going, they start feeling themselves pretty hard. Yeah, they're hypey. So I think
there you go.
The venue plus if they pick up that first win, we'll just carry them through.
Boom.
I'm going to go with Immortals as well, but in a 3-1 fashion. I do think that CLG has the ability to take some games, and I don't think it's going to be that lopsided that it could be an all-out stomp.
Some faith shining through there. Isaac?
It's tough, man. I mean, it's looking like a little bit of a repeat of last split in the third place match where you have to favor Immortals coming into this, and I do think it, CLG, I hope they can prove me wrong and make this a really, really close one, but I do think it's certainly Immortals' favor, and I think it's going to be 3-1.
Yeah, tough matchup to really look at from CLG's side here, with the fact that it wasn't a series of events where they said, yeah, we usually slump in the middle, pick ourselves back up at the end. It actually seemed like a lot of things behind the scenes, as Darshan had said. We're trying to fix a lot of things that make us be better as a team, and then the gameplay after that. And I think the gameplay is what a lot of people were expecting to happen right away for CLG.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a concern to hope that they have picked up, because they did kind of slump at the end of the season. The loss to Apex, it seemed like they had a good win over Team Liquid, but apparently they were struggling a lot, and then they kind of get beaten up by a really strong TSM. So there's a little bit of a question mark of where exactly are they?
Well, and one thing, you can never count CLG out, though, right? People were betting against them last year in the finals. People were betting against them at MSI, and this team does seem to kind of thrive in that. Exactly. They trust each other. They talk a lot about that, how they really are truly a team. They're not individual players, and their success comes from being such a cohesive unit, and I hope we can see that here today.
Well, they're a team that you just cannot say on paper they're going to win or lose this match. Right. They have that X factor that you just can't quantify, and that's what's so exciting about watching them. You just never really know what kind of play they're going to come up. I mean, when we saw the new meta, they kind of innovated with the whole, hey, let's go ahead and swap to the top side and try to get that turret in the first turret as quickly as possible, and they caught Team Liquid off guard.
Well, we'll see what they can produce. We talked a little bit about the matchups, and there is a surefire thing that Reignover has been a key to Immortals' success, and he shares with us that he knows all too well how important this match is for his team.
Third and fourth match is still really important because since we lost semifinal, most likely we're gonna have to play a gauntlet for World, and by winning third and fourth match, I think it's decided either we have to play 2 best-of-5 or 1 best-of-5. So of course it's really important for us to win third and fourth match.
Well, Reignover knows the stakes. Welcome, everyone. I'm Julian Pastry Time Car here with Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kenza, and Aiden Zyrene Moon. We're jumping into Champ Select for this best-of-5 between CLG and Immortals. Boys, it's time to play for some redemption.
It definitely is. And man, I am so excited to be here. Every time we do a live event, I get a little bit teared up, but this is only my 3rd day in Canada, and everyone is so nice and welcoming.
Yeah, everybody is just so incredibly nice. Absolutely electric here, and I've only done a few live events myself, but every single time, goosebumps all throughout the event.
Yeah, this was pretty hype when it was empty. Now that's filled with all you guys, it's amazing! As it looks like we are going to get things underway, let's do it! Immortals versus CLG, game 1.
Yeah, first thing here for Champion Select, I want to start out. I'm looking at the mid lane for Counter Logic Gaming because Aurelion Sol is still not an option for any of the teams moving forward. And I'm very curious what direction they go with Huhi because the mid lane champion will oftentimes determine their strategy. And he's had good performances on Syndra, still can go the Talia. Very similar bans, actually, as we've seen both these teams have previously in their performances.
Exactly. The Rumble ban, of course, needs to come out against Huni. He got to have it one time in that five-game series against Cloud9. The other 4 was completely banned away and wasn't allowed to have anything there. But these bans don't leave a whole lot on the table that you want to first pick here. There's Karma as well, but still, Gnar is something that we saw Huni have troubles with. And he hasn't quite picked it up just yet, but we'll see.
Maybe he'll take it here. The ban's are actually already done, and there is first pick now for Immortals.
Yeah, I have to say the Ashe is on the table as well. Definitely a high priority there. Because something that's really high importance right now are the globals in this meta. Gangplank, yes, is off the table. There's a lot of roaming mid laners plus utility from the bottom lane in combination with top lane teleport.
Exactly, and the Tahm Kench also off the table does increase the priority on Ashe because he's the champion that stops that pick from coming out. But whenever we come to a third place match, I'm always looking at what have the teams changed because they're both coming off of devastating losses in different ways. CLG 3-0. IMT almost had that series to the finals, but what have they changed this week? And Huni's Gnar is actually a breath of fresh air for Immortals.
Well, we're going to find out soon because CLG do have to lock in some picks here. Almost 10 seconds left, and CLG are taking their time.
Yeah, if I was CLG, I would probably save my counter pick for Huhi. One good thing for him, yeah, and they don't early pick the mid lane, but one good thing for Huhi is that Pobelter hasn't played a game of Cassiopeia all season long, and that has been one of the champions he has had the hardest time against. Pobelter, actually, very underrated mid laner. He has, if you look at the jungle proximity of the enemy jungler, Pobelter's the most camped mid laner in all of the North American LCS in the summer split.
Yeah, and then Huhi is the 9th most camped, so he's second to least. So he doesn't get a whole lot of attention, but he still ends up losing his lane a bit.
Meanwhile, we will touch on the last couple of rounds of picks here. There's the Karma that you're looking for. That is one of the bans that did switch up there for Counter Logic Gaming, and Immortals have chosen it on the second side. Both Adrian and Aphromoo, huge proponents of the range supports for an entire year now, and they're still 2 of the guys that have been playing it. This could very well be a Pobelter Karma in the mid lane. A little bit of versatility here for Immortals, but meanwhile on the other side, the Rex side there, no surprise, and long range Jhin for initiation for Stixxay.
Yeah, but Reignover answers with the Elise instead of going with the Gragas here. So, this is something that he actually saw success on in the Cloud9 series. He played 5 games, 3 of them were Rek'Sai, 2 of them Elise. The only ones he won were Elise, but it wasn't really his fault in any way, shape, or form. But he's been favoring that over Gragas.
And they were talking about it a little bit on the analyst test, right? Where is Reignover going to be? Elise is one of those junglers that has to be proactive in the early game, going to get off a lot of early ganks, and you have to worry about where Reignover is now, because he very well could switch it up.
Well, we'll have to see, because Shen and Braum actually are the next few picks there from CLG, so Jhin, Rek'Sai, Shen, Braum, a pretty good start there. We'll see what IMT have on the other side.
Some of those globals that we were talking about, Shen does come in. Into Gnar, Gnar does have a decent edge there, but if the Shen can just farm up and try and use Stand United, that's all that they are looking for. Also, there's so much importance on bottom lane fights now. Both Jhin and Ashe can start those up, and they have a lot of power at level 6, so both teams actually could be looking that way.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of double TPs now, focusing on the bottom lane. Mid laners have been picking it up. Pobelter and Huhi are both hovering it right now. We'll see if it does end up going through later on. But the Trundle comes through, support for Adrian. He's been picking up those melee supports, and it's been working pretty well for them, but it's mostly for the Shen.
And here's the moment of truth. What are CLG going to use to counterpick here? Because we were looking for them to save their counterpick for Huhi. They have done it. The only problem is they're facing a mid lane Karma, which is very versatile and doesn't have to put herself in a lot of danger. So there we go. One of the champions that Huhi has had a lot of success on is the Syndra. I really like his confidence in this champion and the way that he was able to get counter kills on even assassins like LeBlanc in the mid lane versus very formidable opponents.
And I guess that question maybe someone answered here. Teams haven't changed too much, it feels like. Here and there, there's a couple picks, but very stable drafts for these two teams here.
Yeah, what the main thing that does change with this is that CLG, their two main strategies are they either go with one of those roaming mid laners like the Talia, or they'll go with the less mobile Syndra here and just try and have Huhi have a more stable lane and actually have more control of it. When he is on this champion, he has a lot more control over mid lane than he usually does, because usually he's very low in CS and starts to give away some of that pressure.
Exactly, and we talked about how he doesn't get a whole lot of enemy jungle attention. With a Syndra, you pull that attention pretty hard because she can start snowballing these matchups. Against the Karma, though, she does have some tools to actually make sure she doesn't lose that matchup completely, heals and all that whatnot.
Well, it's time now to show your team colors out on Twitter. Vote using the hashtag IMTWin or the hashtag CLGWin. We'll monitor the fan vote and bring you results throughout this series, and what a series it should be.
Woo! Very excited for this one. All right, I have to say, I'm very excited as well to keep track of Smithy and how he deals with Reignover, because one of the most impressive things is how Smithy has been able to do with very hyped up junglers and keep his lane safe. He focuses a lot on Scuttle Crabs. Scuttle Crabs is going to be one of the stats trying to keep track of for this opening match.
Scuttle stats indeed, as the teams are out onto Summoner's Rift for our first game of the NALCS Summer Finals. Immortals going to move out here on the blue side. We'll see what CLG maybe have prepared. Reignover just scuttling down the mid lane there. Looks like they'll fan out for now.
And Huhi actually goes with the Ignite. He was hovering the TP, then the Ghost, finally going with the Kill Summoner spell here, so even more potential to snowball in that mid lane.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about when CLG make the switches for mid lane control rather than mid lane roam and trying to affect the other lanes. Huhi on this champion goes for those kills, and we've seen him do it.
Yeah, and that's something that CLG have actually struggled with, is Huhi taking resources for himself instead of giving them away, and they've been working on that, and this is a champion that I think plays to that new strength that they're trying to develop on CounterLogic Gaming.
All that being said, I would not be surprised if Darshan uses the first Stand United to the bottom lane. Jin Braum has a lot of kill potential. One of the other things that I was looking for in the level 1, whenever I see Jin Braum, there's so much threat in level 1. You can have creative level 1 invades and try and get an early advantage. Looks like both of these teams, though, a little bit trepid in game number 1 of this series. Don't want to throw out anything crazy, and it is just going to be fairly standard starts here, as both junglers do start up on the top side as well. Very well could converge at the bottom lane Scuttle Crabs.
CLG certainly known for that creativity, but we will keep it calm for now. We heard it from the desk. Immortals, in particular, are a team that can ride a pretty big wave of momentum, but standard starts here for the dual lanes. They'll take their camps at probably around the same time. And I guess we'll have to watch, as always, for Reignover and Smithy. Where is that early jungle pressure going? We've heard it on this patch. It's usually going bottom lane.
Very well could be. As you see there, them taking those jungle camps. When you are taking a jungle camp with your duo, have your AD take a couple of hits early, because she's going to heal off of the last hits of the jungle champions, as well as the lifesteal that you're going to get through lane and your Doran's Blade.
And with Trundle, it's not a problem at all. Take those last few hits, the passive, healing him up right afterwards. Hasn't even had to use any of his stacks yet.
The AD is already at level 2. Total just trying to get some shots in. Does have a bit of a range advantage here.
Yeah, Ashe also has a pretty good level 1 shove advantage over most other AD carries with the volley there, and they've taken control of the minion wave, you can see, pushing it up in, and they're going to make Jin CS under turret. Thankfully for Jin, he's actually pretty good at it. Very high base damages here. Afro and Adrian actually making the first moves up to help their junglers. This is the preemptive work that the supports are doing in conjunction with the junglers, fighting over that Scuttle Crab we mentioned.
Exactly, and we've been seeing this more and more, where the supports will start roaming towards those buffs really early on, just to try and get some control over them. Because if Wild Turtle and Adrian continue to shove, they could possibly contest this buff and put some Smithy behind.
Exactly. One of the extra things that pushes pressure on any sort of jungle objective or move that you want to make is, where are your lanes at this moment? Are they shoving up? Because if they are, then you get, of course, the earlier collapse from your teammates, and that can turn the fight. Meanwhile,
yeah, Pobelter and Huhi actually going to go face-to-face for a bit. Pobelter looking good so far in the lane, but we have seen Huhi really turn it on with the Syndra, and he will have threat here in the lane. Pobelter, though, as always, wants to be very consistent, very stable, and just kind of farm things up here. As we do check in with our top lane, Huhi and Darshan trading early blows, and Minina, as expected, is kind of winning those early trades as well.
Yeah, like we talked about, that slight edge that Nar's going to have over him. You know, early on, Darshan is just looking to farm and try and scale up to level 6.
And Rainover just trying to get some wards here in the jungle. Knows that the blue side is where you'll have your Rek'Sai around this time. But in that mid lane, Pobelter, just going back to that, this matchup, the Syndra versus the Karma has a lot of tools to shut her down. She's low mobility, has a way to actually catch up to her, to root her, to have that gank assistance, but then also can save her teammates because she's going to be building a sizable amount of AP here. It'll be actually hard to execute some people because of Pobelter.
And as we see right now, Smithy just going over that ward that Rainover placed, so they know that they have a few seconds, but they can't stay too long.
Darshan went back in. He actually has Smithy just behind him, but looks like Rainover's going to escape for now. Repel should get at least a safety. Huni was trying to play aggressive. Darshan did TP back to lane, but no gank there from Rainover.
And I like that exchange for any jungler. You're just going to help out your lane because you're trading your health for a laner's health. Where the laner has to be in constant combat with an enemy champion, you can just go back into the jungle and farm now as Rainover. At least very easy for her to clear out the rest of the camps. Meanwhile, Darshan got a chunk out that's going to make him chug this potion and helps a little bit with Huni's laning phase.
And also, Rainover doesn't get punished by it because Smithy's on that side of the map, not going to be counter jungling or getting any type of advantage over him. So you know where both junglers are. So your bottom lane gets to play aggressive and however they want in that moment, which is something you usually trade for showing yourself top side.
Ooh, maybe pressure here. Huni actually going to get flashed under by Smithy. Does burn his flash to get away, though.
Yeah, that may have looked like a little bit early flash to a lot of people, but the threat of a taunt flash from Shen is always there, and you have to respect the extra distance added onto the taunt of the flash every time you know that the Shen does have flash, because so many people will wait too long for the taunt to start halfway through, and even though it's half a screen away, the flash comes in and you don't have enough time to react there. So good gank there from Smithy. Does actually trade flashes, and it might make Huni play a little bit more cautiously. Maybe we'll see, that is determined by the wards that they put down.
Yeah, and we had seen it previously. When Huni doesn't have his flash and he gets camped, the attention that other teams put on him is very high. Darshan still has that taunt flash available to him, so a repeat gank would not be out of the question for CLG.
Plus, you always, as we say, want to get the Shen up to the level 6 point where you can start affecting other lanes. So as a jungler, if you put time into the top lane, you get, returns on that. Pay it forward. Your top laner will take your ganks and then go to gank other lanes.
Well, Huni did TP back to lane, so just to trade there of summoners, they'll be slightly desynced. Pobelter damage in the mid lane from Hu-He as the stun and the pun. Lord Brock actually burnt the ulti. Hey, that's that! Hu-He solo kills him!
I mean, we set it up for him, but look at that. Hu-He comes up with a huge plays by himself. Hu-He solo kill here in Toronto.
He lands everything, blows the flash, ignite, and Pobelter through the shield as well. Not enough to stay alive.
Turtle in trouble. Not good news as Afro's going to stun him down. Stixxay moves in, and there's a second kill for CLG.
And Counter Logic Gaming off to a lead in Game 1 against Immortals.
Let's take a look at the reactions from Immortals because they lost a lot of pressure, but Rainover went for an immediate counter jungle. All right, first we'll take a look at the replay here. Hu-He, really good job moving around that sphere to get the stun. That Pobelter did not respect the spheres that are on the ground. They're previously from Syndra, and a really good job there from Hu-He, knowing the damage that he can output at this level, taking that critical ignite summoner for this reason, and he's rewarded for it right at level 6.
And even went for the flash auto just in case another shield would possibly come out or anything could possibly save Pobelter.
That does mean that he has to play a little bit more cautiously now, and they're going to have to rely on maybe some more wards. Here's Rainover, as I said. He went for a counter jungle immediately before we even started that replay. So he took away 2 camps here, basically. Most of the Raptors left one small one there, and comes away with the red. That's the small thing that you're going to pay for, those extra moves and gank down bottom.
Well, nice bit of damage control there from Rainover, and no conversion from CLG other than the kills. Means the objectives will stay neutral for now. Huni still farming up, looking pretty good. Actually has a nice CS lead here versus Darshan. He's going to get this wave pushed towards the turret.
And that's a lot of the reason why Immortals actually aren't down significantly in gold is because of the extra CS that they have had, where they are winning slightly in those lanes.
Trades do continue here as Huni trying to be a nuisance as always.
And speaking of being a nuisance, right here at the bottom side of the map, Smithy invades and Turtle.
Ooh, not again. Turtle, there's the one snipe. There's the second. Knocker's not there, but there's Stixxay with another.
The bottom lane level 6 kill potential that we talked about comes to fruition here. First for CLG, and now they're invading on Rainover.
We're not done perhaps. Rainover tagged in by concussive blows as Afro gets him with the Q, but CLG do have to retreat. Looking a little dangerous.
This also gives CLG priority on this red buff and bottom turret, and now you have to choose as Immortals which one you defend but it looks like it is going to be giving up a little bit of both. Some damage there on that bottom turret.
Afro going to move his way back down. Stixxay does get the chip damage, and Xmithy steals the buff, but again, good presence here from CLG to play to the strong side of the map and try and get Stixxay ahead, but no conversions on the objectives just yet. I mean, the map is still very close.
You have so many more options and have so much more. Oh, here we go, though. Invade again.
Knock up there from the Umbara. Rainover's going to flash out. CLG do not follow, and no ult from Stixxay means that they probably have to give that up.
And they're able to do this and have this type of confidence because they know Huni's TP is down and Darshan has his stand united. This Shen is actually a great pick against the way Immortals love to play because it makes them play towards bottom side of the map where they don't have the tendency to want to go.
Exactly. There are so many things going in favor of CLG's bottom lane right now. You mentioned the Shen, also the solo kill in mid lane. This is what we talk about when we say teams have been looking to learn to play around mid lane, and it's taken CLG a long time. But they used the mid lane pressure to also go for these consecutive invades. Smithy didn't even have to spend his presence mid. He was bottom for the first gank. Then they get to invade. Then they get to go for the second gank down bottom. And now they still have Stand United in their back pocket.
Well, we're about to crest 10 minutes, so let's take stock of the current state of the game. In fact, let's check out the fan vote instead. Ooh. IMT just ahead of CLG. That Canada buff from Turtle really helping out.
Turtle's Canada buff confirmed more important than Hot Shots.
I mean, that's the battle, right?
Hotshot's buff is actually compensating a little bit here because Immortals, we're talking about 17 and 1 or 17 and 2, 1, sorry, 17 and 1 in spring, 16 and 2, same roster, right, coming in. And honestly, CLG didn't win a single match against TSM, the strongest team versus what was supposed to be the second strongest team coming in here. There's a lot in Immortals' favor from what you would think coming in.
Oh yeah, I mean, think back to spring split. Immortals had the same thing where it was such a great regular season, then it collapsed in the first round of the playoffs. Yet, they still pulled it together. This is a team with composure. These are all veteran players on the Immortals lineup, and they have been in this position before, and last time they were victorious.
You can see game nice and even. As a result, CS pretty much clean across the board, except Darshan's a bit behind. Kills up, of course, for CLG as Adrian may be going a bit aggressive. Afro puts up the Unbreakable, and Stixxay safe to continue farming up their minions. CLG, they had about 1,000 gold up. They're kind of floating between 800 and 1,000 gold ahead here, but really early on, that's not a big lead.
Yeah, I have to say the important thing right now is still the floating first gold on the turret. Because when the first turret does fall, so many things happen at once. It's late into the game, so you're getting a lot more map control. Also, the obvious extra 400 gold that was just added to it, but it's a bit bigger of a snowball now than it was previously. We'll have to wait till we get to that chapter of the book, though.
Like I was saying, CLG, good pressure early on, but no conversion, as we do have a pause here.
Yeah, it's just an audio pause here for CLG at the moment, and we'll get that cleaned up as quickly as possible. But man, this game off to a very quick start for those guys. They've got to be really happy. As we said, we heard on the analyst desk, CLG are very much the underdogs coming into this, and Immortals, a little bit of a rocky early opening for them.
Yeah, there's always, you can't count Immortals out. Even coming into the semifinals against Cloud9, that was a big upset because they were expected to come out with a victory based on their record and how they were performing. But, oh man, coming into this, again, third place match, that has to weigh on them a little bit because you don't want to come in and go, man, we just can't play in playoffs. What's happening? And their ultimate goal is Worlds. Both these teams want to go to Worlds, and Immortals, if they win this, that's their better chance of going higher seed in the North American Regional Qualifier and a possibility of actually skipping Cloud9, who beat them.
Well, I mean, bigger picture here as well, even just in the game, as again, we are looking to resolve the issue ASAP. Immortals, we talk about it, they come into playoffs, they're the hot favorites for the most part. This was the first time in this year that they weren't coming into the summer. TSM were barely above them. And what did they change? They had a rough play against TSM in their semifinal, come here again, lose a heartbreaker there to C9. And we talked about it. They went back into the third, fourth place match against Liquid and just changed a whole bunch of stuff. Huni playing Gnar. I don't know where his Gnar's been all year, let alone just in the playoffs.
It's funny that you use that as an example of like, oh, my mind is blown. The top laner's playing Gnar. But it's because, Huni has such a diverse champion pool, and he's got all these counter picks that he's famously used. He had the Kennen success on that. Everyone's banning Rumble against him. He's the only top laner where Rumble is a mandatory ban against this team. There's a lot of versatility that they can have there, but they also change up so much and so often.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me. When I was looking at the bans from Immortals versus Cloud9, Immortals had only 5 unique champions banned against them. They were kind of figured out a little bit by Cloud9, whereas Immortals, every time they lost, they would switch up so much and ban 10 unique champions, twice as many as Cloud9, and they really went through so many different champions as well. Huni played a unique champion every single game of that series for a total of 5. That is honestly just crazy that they keep changing things up, and it's just, you know, maybe a little bit of panic, but maybe also they're just trying to figure out what they need to do to win.
Well, right back in the game, so no problems there. Is Huni going to get taunted up by Darshan? He's Mega Gnar right now, but now pop back into Mini. Darshan, I will say, is actually timing these trades quite well.
Yeah, went right for the transformation back into Mini Gnar, and used the Spirit's Refuge there to dodge some autos as well to get that trade in. But CLG is a big move mid here to try and pressure this turret. You know, first turret doesn't have to be bottom. It could very well be mid.
And remember, CLG, they're always looking for that first turret. Here comes the arrow from Turtle.
Turtle looks for someone, he nails it, Smithy. But Immortals not able to follow up. CLG, will they continue the siege? Sort of pulling back a bit now.
That's the thing you always have to watch out for. Yes, first turret is so big and it is a bit more swingy now, but it can be used as a bait so often, especially with all the utility coming from bottom lanes, like the Ashe Arrow here. Immortals' first attempt, though, goes unsuccessful, and that cooldown early on is significant. You know, haven't built up Essence Reaver or any of that type of stuff for Ashe yet, so the first arrow there being a non-event is actually a pretty big issue.
Especially since Huhi doesn't have something like a cleanse. If you were able to time that arrow with the gank from Reignover, you could stop the snowball from coming through, because you can see Huhi just has so much pressure in this lane right now. He has that solo kill and he has the CS advantage.
Yeah, Syndra, while it is a strong laning champion, you know, you can get those solo kills at level 6, very vulnerable. Does not have her own escape, and there is an Elise on the field, so all those things could add up to make him play more cautiously. Now there's one less threat to worry about. CLG transition down to bottom, and they do get the first turret goal.
Darshan back in the top lane though. And Sticks, they just reloaded the gun in
It's
time.
a bait.
Smithy's here. It is certainly a bait. Darshan looks to go back in again, but Huni's got Mega. Scoops Smithy away. Another TP's in from Pobelta. Reignover's here as well to turn things around. Smithy tunnels his way to safety. Huni is still going to chase. He's tanking up the turret, but Darshan now might be able to keep them away.
Oh, here comes
landed. Gives him a shield, but that's the kill. Darshan's down. Smithy's low, and there's the double for Reignover. Hui comes in, but he cannot convert. Reignover barely gonna live.
They're standing united in the fountain.
Here comes Afro! No, Afro! Right from bottom lane, Pobelta looking to get stunned with Immortals. Could they turn it around? Hui looks for one, finds Huni, Afro low, but he's not going down. Even Stixay and Adrian are going at it, and Adrian's winning right now. Stixay, reload the gun, he needs to shoot another.
He's got flash and heal, but he's not going to go for it.
Not enough mana for the W. Can't snare him anyways because his attack is timed out, but what an amount of chaos there up on the top side. Let's look at Reignover. Our Smithy's actually bottom now for Turtle.
That Turtle was pushing the entire time, so he has to use the Void Rush to get down here and clear this minion wave out so he doesn't lose his turret.
So many Rek'Sai games for Reignover. I associate the champion.
I know, it's the same thing, right?
Certainly is. The Sticks are going to go back to base. CLG starting to open up the map, and all of a sudden we talked about it. That one turret goes down and just chaos descends.
And this is big for CLG. The kills that they end up getting are on their carries, Stixay, and you end up seeing that Huhi picks up one as well.
So look at here, we're talking about, oh yeah, they're baiting right now. Darshan is backing off now because he knows that there is a teleport available, and Reignover roams up mid. So Smithy actually caught onto the disengage a little bit late there, and then he decides to go back under the turret saying, hey, stand united me under the turret, maybe we can use this turret to try and fend them off. They just collapse on Darshan, kill him first, and then finish off Smithy. This is where it gets dicey though, because look at Afromu in the river, that Braum running up the river. He's been running a long time, finally makes it here, and they are gonna be able to clean up one with this, but that's the only amount of kills here for CLG as the Stixay and Adrian ultimate battle there between AD and support turned out into just a flashbang burn.
Somewhat essentially though, CLG do hold on to that top lane turret. So we'll see if they can leverage that. In fact, they're going to make it 2. Huhi, with a bit of help from Darshan, able to take 2 structures to 0, and all of a sudden that gold is actually adding up very quickly. They got the first turret gold, they're able to get the one in mid lane as well, and all of a sudden CLG have so much room.
Yeah, and the fact that they were able to defend that top side turret, and now they're putting their duo lane towards that top side, just means that they're trying to hang on to it just a little bit longer, clear those minion waves out, and actually match Immortals, who now have the one-on-one in the bottom side of the map. That's a long lane for Huni.
And this is that kind of macro play CLG have always being able to lean on there along with their team play. Looking very clean here against Immortals.
Yeah, one thing they have not always been able to rely on, though, is victory in the early game. And this is what is surprising to a lot of people watching this. CLG get a solo kill mid lane for First Blood, and then Smithy, with a bunch of repeats ganks bottom, is having a bigger impact in this game as far as snowballing the early game for them than Reignover had, even though Reignover got 2 kills.
Yeah, and apparently the strategy is shut down Huni. It's not happening. You're just not giving him any opportunities, though, and you're having fights away from him. So CLG, with this early lead, are able to actually have the potential to snowball here. And I love that Immortals, looking at their Cloud9 games, they had only 1 lead out of those 5 games. And coming into this, again, not another game lead.
I like the idea. It's kind of go wide. It's like, all right, win everything else and leave Huni and
Avoid
Darshan
him.
alone. I mean, they've got the Shen, they've definitely got options, but Huni is building a very significant lead. Frozen Mallet already done. Seriously, there, Darshan burns TP again, and Huni's just working on the turret.
Yeah, that's the secret strats of Shen. Go elsewhere and fight the rest of the team. But honestly, I have to say, Huhi here is the big story. He's also got 184 CS now, ahead of the 10 per minute mark. Got that solo kill, added on the other one with the roam, and there's a lot of control coming out of this mid lane. You can see they're trying to work off that by going for deep wards as well as routing around Pobelter.
And you can see that he's already 1,300 gold up here. Huhi is doing work in this mid lane.
And now it's going to collapse onto the side lane. All this mid lane control leaking over into the other sides as they move up for a 4-man. The minions got cleared out, though, so this might be dicey. Darshan could stand united up there, but turret defense is a bit easier now than it used to be.
Huni did burn his ultimate, so won't have that option. I think was just about to turn back and decided to harass down a bit. Darshan could make it, but who is actually looking for a pick? He ults Reignover. Damage is good. Q lands. Is that enough?
No.
Not quite. Reignover barely lives.
No hit on the Scatter of the Week either. Here comes the curtain call.
Adrian is getting destroyed. Hui wraps around the turret for 1. Smithy takes out Turtle, and the IMT bottom lane evaporates as CLG gonna look for another turret.
Yeah, you have the option of the Stand United, and they saw Pobelter went back mid to try and put pressure on that mid turret. CLG said, all right, time to get that last outer turret, and they stick to their plan and their rotations, and it works out.
This is one thing that's so good about CLG is they stay proactive when they do get those early leads, even though they're rare. Aframu has been one of the best in-game leaders that we have ever seen here in North America, and he's keeping the team constantly looking to increase their lead and look for the next move.
And something that CLG hasn't had him on this split is melee supports. He's been playing things like Nami. He was very slow to adapt to what the Korean meta was, where you had those melees, the Trundle coming back out, the Tahm Kench, the Braum as well, and now he has a playmaker in his hands again. That's not Bard.
Well, CLG off to a really nice start now. 3 turrets to nothing, 6 kills to 2. And approaching 5,000 gold in the lead here at 19 minutes. We talk about the CLG late game and teamwork, but you said it, Kobe. The early game's looking great. Stixxay has double damage items. Hui is outputting a mass amount of damage. And sure, Darshan started floating that lane and saying, yeah, I am losing, but I can still help because that's Shen's thing. And it's working out so far for CLG.
Definitely can say that again. For Immortals, though, to try and look at it from Immortals' side, anytime there is a big difference like this, just have to try and overload one area. Look for that Ash Arrow to catch someone from CLG off guard, and they're trying to look for Darshan since he would be able to stand united on anyone else that they look for off guard, but he just backs off. Immortals do get that turret gold, which they definitely need, though.
And now they're going to the source of the global, shoving in the top side, and now, can they get out of this? Because Aframu might have inside track, but no, it looks like they're actually going to loop around here on the mid lane. And possibly, look, here comes an arrow.
Yeah, maybe arrow. No one?
Stixxay?
Goes wide that time. Oh, hello!
Yeah, that's who he was aiming
for.
Yeah, well, I mean, if that's what he wanted, that's what he got. Perfect aim from Wild Turtle.
Well, I have to say, Turtle has hit all of the arrows that he shot.
This is true.
They just haven't been able to capitalize.
It's the team's fault, man. Just not there in time to initiate 5 screens away. CLG are going to start our first Drake of the match. It is the Cloud Drake. It's a little late for this one, but CLG, they might as well take it. Building up that map pressure now. Oh, never mind. Map pressure. Reignover.
Oh, Reignover?
Ruby got a huge stun to start that off, and Afro is going to chase it in. Kagase blows in. Darshan flashes forward. Look to return and doesn't get it. Shields going to keep him alive as Huni with the wraparound takes out Stixxay.
They left the Jhin in the back here, and Huni finds his kill. That's where Immortal's strengths lie, and now they're trying to chase out for more, but it's very dangerous.
Huni actually looking aggressive maybe around the turret.
and he's low on mana too. He's their big wave clear that's left here. They might have to cede this middle turret to Immortals and back off.
Mini Gnar awfully annoying. Immortals still trying to poke them off, and they are going to take this mid outer.
What a risky play for Immortals, going for that pick while Stand United is available, but they played it really well, backing off of Huhi as the Stand United was coming in, waiting out the duration, and then kiting as long as they could until Huni arrives there on the Gnar, and he's able to find the Jhin in the back line. Stixxay being left all by himself.
And it looks like as soon as the engage came out, the cocoon was returned so that he couldn't get blown up. And hey, you can't see him. But hey, actually soaks the last shot too to the face and takes barely any damage from it.
The problem with being the sniper in the back lines, right? Everyone's like, oh yeah, he's just firing there. He's got to be fine all the way there in the back lines. But Huni finds his way, and a pretty big comeback here for Immortals, I have to say. Even though they've got more steps ahead of them to make that comeback convert, that was a much-needed mid-game move.
Couldn't whip the pistol out fast enough, maybe, to take out Huni, as Immortals do, in fact, cleave that gold lead pretty well in two. Pobelter going to get himself the blue buff, and they'll continue playing forward. And again, 3 turrets to 2 now as Immortals open up much-needed space for themselves on this kind of top half of the map. The next wave will be an Inferno. We're minutes away from that one now, so definitely some patience here for the two teams. They do look to continue farming through the mid-game. But again, with the Shen, with the Sidelines, with how aggressive Immortals have been looking to play, both teams need to tread very carefully here.
Yeah, and you can see CLG on this bottom side of the map trying to ward it up, trying to push Huni away. And Huhi arrives on the bottom side of the map, and they know there isn't an answer on the top side yet. A little bit too far, and Darshan will just hang out here.
Yeah, I think it is still a bit difficult for Immortals to take a team fight, as Ashe is still really powering up, whereas Jhin is spiking. Uh-oh.
What'd you say, Kobe? Never mind. Huni gonna get it turned around.
He got him.
Stixxay snipes him. Another bullet's gonna ride in. One more shot. Hits Pobelter, but it does not get him. Pobelter, awfully low. Like Smithy's gonna chase him out of the tower and does take him down. Darshan arrives. Wild Turtle gonna eat a taunt. Puts up the W. Turtle's gonna get crushed.
They're gonna get an ace.
They're going for it. They're going straight under the turrets. Adrian is the only one left alive. CLG dive for it, but they can't quite get it.
Not quite there at the end, but oh my god, Stixxay with the clay pigeon play there onto Huni. Tries to jump away and gets shot down, and that's CLG taking a 5,000 gold lead.
And these are those consistent, proactive moves from CLG. They again turn all their attention towards objective on the bottom side and don't hesitate, going immediately for that kill. They recognize they have the numbers advantage, plus the extra global of the Shen coming in with Stand United, and man, they just run straight through the turret. All right, Huni getting aggressive here on the outside. Stixxay lands the snare. They immediately all in with the double ultimates from Huhi and Stixxay, and then all bullets hitting there. Plus Stand United means that Smithy's going for that dive.
Yeah, Rainover repelled right then, and the bullet went through and still hit Pobelter for the crit and allowed him to die, and then they just dived there. Yep.
I didn't notice Stixxay died until that last turret shot, but that's a little unlucky. Flash burned as well.
I mean, might have cost them an extra tower or two. They did take the bottom tier too, but certainly maybe a little high for there for Stixxay. He does get himself executed. CLG though, still with a nice little siege. And you said it, feels like this is their time to really force fights, and Immortals' aggression did cost them quite a bit there.
Right, and it's because they have so much burst damage here. The Jhin had the completed flat armor penetration, plus the Syndra right now on her 2.5 item spike. You saw how much the ultimate did there. Pretty much taking any countermeasures that Huni could try and take out of the window as he got snared up and bursted down immediately. Now CLG just returning to try and clean up the minions before they prep for the next move. And it's something you always have to do as well. Do your homework first. Try and push out your minion waves before you go for another one of those fights.
CLG are getting Baron control now. Scuttle control, you're talking about it, Kobe? CLG actually have had a pretty dominant hold on Vision in this game, and they've been able to get it on the bottom side and the top side of the jungle and wherever they want.
I thought that was the blue buff for a second. It was actually just Stixxay. He does get wrapped up there. Pretty tanky early on the Rek'Sai here. We did see on the bottom lane earlier, though, as Huni and Darshan still going head-to-head. Huni with a big lead in those two kind of split-pushing style items. You can see that Darshan can kind of hold, but kind of eventually Huni's going to win that 1v1, at least for now.
Yeah, I mean, Darshan just has to turtle at his turret and clear out the minions, right? You know, maybe Huni can get in one auto on the turret, but whenever he goes that close, then he's in taunt range, and that makes it very dangerous for him to ever try and push this turret down aggressively, even though he may have, you know, some small advantage in the 1 versus 1. All Darshan has to do is hold the line.
Yep. And that's how they're planning on shutting him down, is just keeping him occupied and making sure he can't do what he wants to do.
Another taunt. Huni and Darshan will trade back, but no one in the area, so it's just a bluff from Darshan.
And at this point, Shen actually does a sizable amount of damage to the Gnar that has no resistances under his belt and flat HP. Because the percent HP that he's going to be doing with his Q, it actually adds up quite quickly.
Definitely want to get that pass through on the sword to get it increased as well. And we'll take a look at the other side of the split push, which is going to do most of the work.
Oh, that's a stun landing in. Pobelta gets blown up. Hui now unstoppable as he's going to get CC'd up. Darshan looking to protect him. It's actually enough in the Spirit's Refuge. Hui lives. Stixay still firing shots under the turret, and CLG, they're going under the tier 2. Adrian, stunned up by the Braum, is going to go down. Stixay a little low as Xmithy tanks just enough for CLG to get that kill. Huni wants it though. Does play proccing. He's going to go back in for it. Huni playing very, very aggressive.
Yeah, he got there late. There wasn't a good TP point for him. He ends up TPing behind the fight, or right in front of his, or behind his own lines, and he had to just walk up, and it was too late, but Huni really wanted to do something.
Yeah, with the extra second added on to teleport, it takes a long time as well, and didn't even use it there. Now it's going to be the Drake. Uh-oh, actually, now he's going to use the teleport, and Wild Turtle's arrow on cooldown, so they don't have an arrow for this.
This is bold, but Immortals are going to perform the pincer. Who can they peel for? Pobelta TP'd in as well. CLG maybe getting cut in two. As well, he's going to move in. Hui blows up Wild Turtle this time, and CLG just going crazy. Pobelta the next to get stunned. CLG just have too much damage. Huni going to get himself
But he almost
down.
had Mega.
Going back in, can he make the play? Wallop's there, but Smithy's just too tanky.
He's got flash.
Cuts up one, he goes in. Big Gnar ultimate. Wallop follows in as well. Huni able to barely turn it around, but Hui's going to live on a sliver of health. And now Adrian's stunned up. Huni, that was everything he had, and it's just not enough.
And Immortals throw themselves at CLG, but they come out on top just barely.
Immortals felt like they had to make a huge play to get back into this game, and that's the style they like. Keep throwing out those plays, but CLG are able to hold calm after taking the Drake. The big crucial moment is when Hui turns on Turtle Hill. Turtle tries to get in there for an auto, but Hui has the ultimate back up and available on Syndra, and AD Carry has no chance there.
You're absolutely right about the TP from Huni. He still had it. It comes through, and him and Pobelta on the bottom side of the fight. Pobelta wasn't locked for the world, but Huni still had his summoners available, still had his Gnar available, and just converted over.
That would have been one of the most magnificent 1v5 moments if he could turn that around for Immortals to get it. But CLG do rally there, and they are able to hold in the post-Drake fight. Now they have an extremely large lead that they should try and continue to pressure into Immortals territory.
And you can see that on Huni's face as well. This has to be a very frustrating game for him. He can't kill anyone.
We're going again though. Xmithy and Darshan with the tag team. Adrian knocked up there, and Stixay, huge crit. As Trundle's going to barely live with his ulti on Huni, who wants it again. He's got the ulti.
Transformed.
Prepping it up, but CLG know they're going to kite back and try and time out the Gnar bar. CLG disengaged successfully. No kill, but no worries there for CLG. Oh my god, Huni.
Oh,
Crazy! They got Hui. That might be enough. Darshan taunts him. He needs to wear off the Mega. They're stunning him as best they can. Darshan maybe going to give himself away. Darshan low though. Pobelta looking what he can. And there's a kill back for Immortals. Now they're going to keep chasing their way in. Stun misses in for Hui, but Immortals, they want more. Afro trying to protect his team. He does save it. As Xmithy going to go back in. Huni goes down there to Xmithy. As CLG turn it on again. Turtle lands Stixay going nuts. Turtle does it, but Stixay. Oh my god, he sniped everyone!
Oh my goodness! CLG are not backing down from Immortals' consistent attempts here. And Immortals are going for these fights down over 7,000 gold and making them look incredibly close here. They tried to re-engage because they saw Stixay show himself in the top lane. So they know they have to throw everything at it. They Ash Arrow and go for the re-engage. But man, what a close call there.
And these skirmishes has got to be your dream, Pastry. So many fights coming out here. There's more kills than there are minutes in this game. And it's all because these brawls. Immortal are just trying to get CLG down in the gutter to fight with them and play their style. But CLG at the same time, they're already there. They're already trying to play that, pick them off. And now Huni shows up, Now, he doesn't care that some of his members are half HP. He just got here. He's ready to fight.
Yeah, he's got Meganar ready, so he wants to force this. They know that they don't have too many options, but inside jungle corridors where he can Meganar against the wall would be one of them.
Yeah.
Now they see Stixxay shows himself in minions on top lane right now. That's why they go for the Ash Arrow onto Huhi, and they're going to try and force this engage because they have the numbers, and that's the only way that they can win where they see fight. Immediately take down Darshan, but the counter kill from Huhi, and now the CLG members start to collapse and arrive.
Yeah.
Aphromo's shield.
And Xmithy had back, and then he void rushed back in, and oh, wait,
We're not done.
we can't get done with
Don't
it.
even worry, Huni gonna get stunned up again, but he's pretty tanky. Nas Darshan away, but Hui managed to go legendary to get that kill. Adrian also gonna get himself chased down. The taunt's gonna miss, but they've got plenty to follow in. There's the double for the Syndra. 11-0-9. Hui's Syndra showing up here in game 1.
This is Immortals style League of Legends here. They continue to force. Now COG have complete control over this Baron though. Reignover does have flash. Maybe there's some kind of magical hero play, but they're not going to actually take that much of a risk. And CLG will grab the Baron to try and push with.
And the crazy thing is this is Immortals style League of Legends, but they were excluding Huni from it because CLG were having action away from him. They're like, what is Immortals like when Huni isn't here, when we have the threat of a Shen coming down, and they played the first 30 minutes like that, and now Huni's finally getting some of the action, but it might be too little too late. 9,000 gold lead, and Baron, CLG, look at this.
Yeah, we're approaching real issues here for Immortals as far as CLG's lead is concerned.
Oh, he hit it!
They actually sniped Hui. Sanji United going to shield him up, but Huni can chase in. Needs a little more, but Darshan going to escort the Syndra out. And CLG, as always, united in the junglers. They want to go for more. That's Reignover's flash forced away.
Darshan's teleported to try and push quicker. What?
What?
Maybe he was trying to teleport to cut someone off?
Maybe, but not successful there for CLG. Darshan now done both globals as the Baron buff pressure. Maybe getting them a little too keen to try and get this game 1.
That definitely was a little bit messy there from CLG, and they have pretty much all the advantages that you could want at this stage in the game. Immortals are doing a good job of delaying Counter Logic Gaming and buying themselves some more time.
I'm going to clear out the wave there. CLG looking to prep the rest of the map here. Drake is up in 5 seconds. Good to see him here in the Canada Center. And looks like CLG will take this one down as well. They've had good control so far. One Inferno on. This will be their second Cloud. Immortals know it is not the right time to defend. CLG going to keep applying pressure.
And we've been talking about how Immortals, they're doing a good job of staving off the pressure and making sure that the game doesn't end just yet. And the longer that CLG takes to close this out, the more powerful that Immortals get to try and match them. What happens when Huhi gets hit by a cocoon and blown up? That's why Immortals like these fights, because they know that they're so mechanically good in them that it takes one fight mid-late game for them to win the game.
Yeah, towards the late game, not only does Ash go really well, Turtle's finally getting into the crit build and starting to come together for him. He's still a full item behind, but on the tank lines, Trundle rises so much in priority here towards the late game. Well, we're not going to get to that because opening up here.
Oh my God! That's 1,400 health just dissolves in front of Reignover's eyes as CLG will take their 6th turret of the game, and they're not done.
Well, everybody's concerned with Huhi blowing them up with magic resistance, so they don't have any armor against the armor pen build.
CLG just breaks straight through the middle here. IMT just can't really do too much. They might look for another one. Huni actually caught out CLG. They spot the flank, and that's the Mininar flashing out. Huni going to be tied for a while. CLG, they have not slowed the pace.
Oh, now they just have to defend.
Yeah, they did get the turret down though, so inhibitor turret is down for Immortals, and this defense is still going to be very difficult for them. Even though they're getting a pretty good chunk here, chunk onto the enemy mage is the most valuable because they can't
no! While Turtle snacks a couple, but it's just the tanky members that actually ulti on Huni. Stixxay! Where did Reignover even go?
To the fountain.
Yeah. The Express, the Fountain Express there from Stixxay. As Reignover gets delivered straight back into the death chamber. 40 seconds, he's down. CLG with the power play, going to push in mid 5v4.
A lot of them are half HP though.
Oh,
They get
Wild
Turtle.
Turtle, not a good time as Smithy going to flash in for it. Pobelter actually does snipe Afro. So it's a 4v4 for a little while here.
If they hang around, Immortals might have a chance to get back in this. Look at Huni!
The snipe Hui will get protected by the Stand United. Oh! Pobelter melts as Stixxay is destroying people. And CLG going to push in, try and take it. I think Immortals, the inhibitor, it'll be collateral here. And it does finally fall.
A 1,400 crit. Absolutely insane. Oh, again!
Can't even cast it anymore.
The,
it's happening too quickly.
Yeah, I mean, this is a 2 carry composition from Counter Logic Gaming,
Nice
but
carries.
the 2 carries have 22 kills between them.
They got the first 4 kills and started to snowball, and they said, you know what, it's time to go. That's all we need. And again,
it's always go time here. Reignover, the tankiest member, is going to move in for it. CLG is going to pressure into the turret. Stixxay now starting to crit the structures down as well. They will break in the top half. And Adrian, yeah, you better book it. CLG going to take a second inhibitor here. Just what to do for Immortals. They're trying everything they can. But CLG's defense looking on point as always, and they are happy to match Immortals blow for blow.
Huni has TP. They're trying to chase them down. Stall long enough that the TP can come through.
See if the miracle's here. Adrian already caught off to the side, though. Stixxay again charges up the cannon.
Oh, he canceled it.
That's not good news for CLG. They're actually a little low here. Immortals might have something here, but Hui goes in for the stun. Smithy and his GA will be popped. And that's just going to be wasted cooldowns here. CLG get a little sloppy retreating, and Immortals punished.
It's kind of the best they could hope for, though, on CLG's side, because they went in, they got that second inhibitor. They could have lost much more, but they lose Smithy and his GA.
Yeah, CLG are looking at Elder Dragon coming up next, plus Baron's coming up in almost a little less than 2 minutes. Immortals right now just have to clean out their base. They're pretty much on minion duty as 2 lines of super minions are coming in. So Immortals, they just need to turtle right now and not go outside onto the map. They can't afford to get picked off by Jin Bullets and Shen Standing United coming in again. Try and farm up until that last fight is inevitable and throw everything that they have at it.
Pressure's still cascading here, though, as Baron is up in a minute 20. CLG can look to threaten for yet another big neutral, and even Elder Dragon will be up in a minute 45 if that's something they're also entertaining. Right now, Immortals are just playing janitor duty in their top and mid lanes as CLG pretty much full to the brim as far as items go. It's an embarrassment here as the watch this one again.
Arrow comes through, it hits Afro move, and he's just defending here. They pick up Reignover, 1478. These crits are actually going to be quite absurd with this Jin build because he already has the Infinity Edge too.
Yeah, Stixxay with the last bullets as well as the last shot of the curtain call has been finding those executions. Got that one on Reignover, also got the one on Pobelter, and he plus Hui with the Syndra ultimate have really been claiming a lot of Immortals.
Yeah, and none of them are really building any armor. The only armor item in sight is a Chain Vest right now on Huni because of the fact now it's Glacial Shroud as well for Adrian, but it's because they're just so afraid of Huki's damage and being the one that he picks to blow up. So they itemize towards that first. And now we have this armor pen who's basically doing true damage.
I mean, the armor
these guys
can't really help them right now. Will help as it stacks up, but CLG just a little too far ahead. Poor Minion gets the Reignover treatment as it just evaporates. And CLG looking to push him for this last inhibitor turret. Immortals are running out of base to defend.
Yep, I'm sure they'd buy more items if they could. They are down 10,000 gold, and CLG are trying to move in here. They have Darshan split pushing up top, and that he's just trying to usher that super minion line of minions up to the Nexus turret, because if you leave those alone, they'll take it by themselves.
Yeah, and when you think about Karma as wave clear, not amazing against these super minions because she has a decent amount of cooldown, but she only has 2 damaging abilities in her kit. She's not like a normal mage.
Swing and a miss for Huni. Darshan manages to slip out from under that ulti. That pulls the trigger for CLG. Reignover not going to get snared up there. Adrian maybe considering to turn it around, but Immortals do regroup under the turret.
It's still going on. Darshan is trying to get out of this.
He's out, but he took a lot of damage for it. Huni with a nice little play there, does chase the Shen out.
He got the Standing Knight too, and this is right before Elder Dragon comes up.
Yeah, strong defense of the base here. Strong defense of the base here for Immortals, and they are able to hold. But the problem is that those neutrals just came up, and those are the things that CLG want to draw Immortals away from their base with. Because if you draw them out onto the map, all you have to do is keep them out there, and the minions will do that work for you. Elder Dragon's going to be the one that they use. They've got wards everywhere, so I don't even think Immortals can go over there.
Exactly. They're going to try to go for the Baron and try to blow that up.
This could be, it's an interesting move because if you go by Baron, you're threatening that, hey, we're crazy enough to burn Baron down and try and use Baron-empowered recalls to get back to our base and trade those for you. The only thing is that's a huge risk in itself if you decide to do that because you're corralling yourself into a small area. Plus, it does a lot of damage, but they're doing it, and they're going to pull CLG off. Can they burn it down in time?
They're racing the minions as well. Nexus turret almost down, but Immortals, the Baron actually does fall down.
Can they get the 3 calls off? They need to
Hooney's almost Mega Gnar. He's trying to flank right now. He's going to try to go for a game-winning play.
Immortals, this is it. If you want your miracle, it has maybe arrived, but CLG going to chase him back away. Hooney doesn't quite connect for the flank. Immortals are chasing him, but Stixay's melting him. Hooney, that's the ulti, but I don't think that's quite enough. His GA is going to pop, and CLG, I think they have to back away here. Immortals actually maybe turning it around. Darshan flashes into the backlines, and the damage seems to be there. Hui looking in, flashes forward, gets the ulti down, but he doesn't blow anyone up. Smithy still taking a lot of damage. This is a crazy fight as Adrian gonna get himself started. CLG, they just power their way through.
Oh, Pobelter! Almost CLG again by the skin of their teeth. Everybody has flashing health bars.
That's why it's such a risky play. You got the Baron, but you have to also be able to get off those recalls to defend your base. Right now, Darshan is going to finish the game as the rest of the team is going to finish Reignover, but he takes Hui with him.
That's the only death of this game as Reignover gets a little bit of sweet justice back. But CLG are going to look to try and close it out. Darshan on a one-man mission right now. There's Afro and Xmithy to help him out as CLG stand firm and look to take game number 1. Hooney's up in 5 seconds. Best of luck.
They don't have that much damage, though. These are all of their non-carries.
They have a lot of time here.
Yeah.
And it's only going to be Adrian coming up first. Oh, no, who?
Yeah,
Hooney's
there.
there.
The W is actually enough. Darshan towards him. I think that's enough. CLG going to look for the Nexus. They will take it. As CLG claim game number 1.
And they play it the way Immortals want to play it, but they exclude Hooney. They make it a frustrating match for them, and they come out on top. CLG taking game 1.
It's all about the big changes for CLG. They played around mid lane. Hui took a level 6 kill champion with Ignite, and he got the kill. Solo kill, first blood. Also, the Smithy ganks down bottom to get bottom snowballing. They know that this is a 2-carry team. Both of the 2 carries had success early, and that's why the Immortals strategy of forcing those fights constantly wasn't able to prevail, because the carries there from CLG got too powerful too early.
And I think it's just such a great draft here as well. Having the Shen to pull attention away. You know Darshan's not going to be the carry of this team, but Hooney wants to be the carry of Immortals. And since lane swaps are kind of out of the question, right? You can't have somebody on the opposite side of the map. You can't really have that until later on, but that was already too late. Solo kills had already come out. Reignover wasn't focusing Hui early on, trying to help out in that top lane.
We just knew adaptation was going to be so crucial here as these teams moved into the series, and I think they've both made some changes, but it really does just feel like at least after game 1, Immortals taken steps and CLG have just taken strides.
Right, and this is a best of 5, so it's all about composure and how you can handle yourself from game to game. Adapt for the next one. Immortals should not be caught off guard again. I don't think we'll see Pobelter getting solo killed again, but you never know.
I think we might see a Shen ban as well, because that just seemed like it was really frustrating for the team of Immortals. Shut down everything they really wanted to do early on, and also pull the pressure away from where they want to have it.
Well, with game 1 complete, let's hand it back to Riv and the analysts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great cast, and I think we could all like to say we're speechless, and we can't say much, but that wouldn't do the game any justice. So upward, onward, moving through. The top lane had a little bit of action, but the first thing sparked off in the mid lane with a solo kill, something nobody was expecting.
What a game, honestly. Yeah, first of all, I love that game.
If every game is like that, oh
there's
my
so
God.
much action. But yeah, you did not expect the level 6 Syndra taking Ignite and actually solo killing Pobelter, a defensive support like Karma. He didn't respect it and snowballed so well. Who he played out of his mind.
Yeah, it's really frustrating because I was praising how Pobelter is, so stable, and then instantly he in the first game just kind of gets blown
He heard
up.
you.
Massacres.
Yeah, and Karma is actually like a decent pick into Syndra. There aren't a ton that do really well in lane, and I think he just kind of disrespected the level 6 power spike of it and got blown up. And when you look at how that game should play from Immortals side, they should have a ton of a pressure mid because he took Ignite instead of Cleanse. You have Ash Arrow, Elise Cocoon.
Right.
You can just kind of flash on it and set up all these plays. And the fact that they died at level 6, cut that off, and then CLG roam mid a couple times, took that turret really early, and it just kind of blew up some of the early game plan that Immortals could have had.
And a lot of this game really was on the back of these solo lanes and stuff, talking about, Immortals playing, obviously they're supposed to be able to get ahead in the mid lane. They're supposed to be able to kind of dominate in top lane as well with this Gnar into the Shen, build up this split push advantage. And it was not really going to plan at all. Darshan was able to kind of weather the storm, although he maybe made some early mistakes in lane and got a little bit behind in farm. He was always super relevant for the team. And the fact that Stixxay and Huhei got this fed was just ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, Huhei ends the game 7,000 gold up over Pope.
A little crazy.
Well, I really like CLG's adaptation because in the beginning, they're looking to camp top lane. Xmithy with repeated ganks, he even burns his own flash so that Darshan can survive the laning phase after the mistakes with the TP usage. But afterwards, they see that Immortals makes some mistakes in the mid lane, gets punished, makes a mistake bottom, immediately, okay, drop the plan top side. Let's make sure we punish mid lane and go bottom side and use that advantage to just completely seal the game.
And that bottom side brings us into our first replay here around 22:45 when we saw CLG taking advantage of everything they were able to snowball up to here and really capitalizing on Immortal mistakes.
So this is one of the few mistakes that you're going to see Huni make this game because he played extremely well, but here he just gets caught out and blown up. The comp from CLG just has so much burst damage, and they're able to blow him up at the start of the fight, and from there, it's kind of easy to run through the rest of the team with this Jhin just sniping from the back line.
Yeah, and while all of them are actually within your screen, the times that they're fighting, it's ultimately like a 1v4 every single time that an Immortals member is getting caught out.
Another thing was massive was because Huhei was so fed. Everyone's building MR. No one was able to actually sit there and build armor for Stixxay, who had like 10 kills at that point as well. He has all this flat armor pen. No one's itemized for it, and there was multiple times where he's like critting even Huhei for like 1,500 and stuff. It was just disgusting.
I mean, that's what's kind of crazy is the fact that like this game went so well for CLG in terms of like we have 2 carries and both of them are huge, and then the fights were still surprisingly scrappy. Like Immortals initiated a lot of them, and they weren't like clean like 4 for 0s. CLG stomping. Well, that's kind of scary.
It did feel like the Huni and Reignover show regardless. Like they were doing so much. Even that fight bottom, like 2v5ing the entire team, stalling out for a Baron. But it was disappointing for the rest of Immortals. You have the tools to engage and maybe mess up Syndra with the Trundle, with the Ashe arrow, and we never saw, except one time towards like 30 minutes in, where we saw an actual arrow onto a mid laner that is not only immobile, but not taking cleanse. And it was a bit disappointing to see them not pull the trigger as many times as they could, especially with an Essence Reaver build from the Ashe, which we criticized, and I don't think we even saw armor pen towards the end of the game.
And Isaac, you said a few times that this is gonna move us into our next replay around the Baron at 29:25, that one of those fights for Immortals could have easily closed that gold gap immediately.
Yeah, I mean, some of these fights were exceptionally close, and this was one that definitely was very, very close. There's a lot of aggression coming out from CLG. They're trying to take over the blue side jungle, and it does result in them kind of having to bail out in a very, very close fight.
Yeah, you saw that they already used the Jhin ult. They're trying to retreat, but this is what makes Immortals so good is they're so sticky. They just play team fight so well, and you can always just watch Huni and see what he does. He had that one team fight where he blocked the last bullet to keep his team alive, and here we finally see that Ashe arrow get onto the Syndra, and this is a fight that's able to go slightly in Immortals' way, but they're just so far behind.
It's one of the most exciting fights I've seen in a while. I mean, everything came down to the wire here, because you see that Jhin is just barely trying to make it through the tri-brush into this fight, because it is a 3v4 right now, and they commit so much stress trying to get him, but Huhei just stays alive.
And just look at the health bars right now. Imagine if Huhei goes down at the very start of this fight, how different it looks. This is Immortal smashing that fight if he dies in that arrow, but Darshan sacrificing his life to save Huhei means that they actually end up barely living through that, because one thing going differently, if Huhei dies at the start of that fight, Immortals actually destroy that fight, perhaps take Baron there, the game turns around completely. So although they were ahead, Immortals really did not back down as far as they see an advantage, they see that a team fight that they think they can take, and they go for it. And you saw that as well when they rush down Baron. They're willing to take risks, and they're calculated risks, right? If they think, hey, this is a 30% chance, but that's the best chance we're going to get to win the game, then they're going to take it and they're going to commit to it.
And I think that's the thing moving forward. Like I was saying, like the game went so well for CLG, and a number of these fights were really, really close. And I want to see what happens when Immortals doesn't fall behind and lose all their outer turrets in the first 20 minutes or something like that, where it is this closer game moving into the team fight phase.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine if Ashe, like he didn't have a Last Whisper in the entire game, right? Like he was never even able to finish that against a team that was stacking so much armor, and even just that one item alone completely changes the dynamic of these team fights, because Shen can no longer just ignore this guy.
Or if they just didn't get run over and you have more isolated time with Gnar on the top side.
You see Immortals on your screen now. Huni, relaxing, stretching it out, understands that a lot of those plays he made were really 99%. One more percent, the team would have had the ace. They would have went through. We saw the fights at Dragon where he had everybody at a sliver of health. And I'm sure he, has that moment of almost blaming himself. A lot of times it talks about Huni has tunneled on a pick. Huni did this. It wasn't that he tunneled on a pick, but he wasn't coming up with those results that could have been Huni's high highs that we were talking about. So we saw the low lows.
And I think it's too early for a player to kind of put that emphasis on themselves. It's like, okay, it was my fault for the game. Just shrug it off. Make sure that you look forward to the next game. And particularly the next game, one of the things that we didn't touch on is the draft. They went with the Elise instead of the Gragas. You know, there's a reason why it's so stale of Rek'Sai versus Gragas, because these two junglers are incredibly potent right now. They offer such a wide variety of plays during a team fighting, whereas Elise, as you saw, can't really do anything in the team fight. She's just sitting there getting crit for 1,500, whereas Gragas could have easily just turned these fights around.
To be fair, though, it is something that Reignover has obviously shown he likes a lot. He played it last week as well. Didn't work out always, but you know, has a lot of playmaking ability. Has the ability to be probably the best jungler at diving, I think, as far as top lane, and we know they love to do that.
All right, well, there are more games to be played in this series, and we have been tracking our 4 top NALCS teams to see who has been most visible fans by looking at number of players repping their team with a summoner icon. Fans entered the contest by playing match-made games while wearing any of the CLG, Immortals, Cloud9, or TSM summoner icons over the last several days. Let's take a look at some of the results, and we can see quite a few TSM players out there on the Rift throughout the past few weeks.
Not the most surprising graph to look at, I'd say.
No.
Like, oh, TSM's #1 in fan support.
I didn't even notice at first that TSM wasn't listed because it's Coke spilling the entire
Yeah, you thought that was just a graphic.
Yeah, I feel like anyone who goes to the LCS studio, watches the games, hears the crowds, you just have to listen to the chants. You know those guys have an insane fan base, and they're definitely going to be showing up tomorrow.
Absolutely. One lucky winner from each group is going to be selected for a special fan prize package for them and their friends. For more details, head on over to lolesports.com. Now we're hitting B for a quick break, but don't go anywhere. The NALCS Finals continues live from Toronto right after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, Counter Logic Gaming! It's the group that never says die, Immortals!
Dashan might be able to keep them away. Okay, landed, gives them a shield, but that's the kill. Dashan's down. Xfinity's low, and there's the double for Reignover.
Go. Lard no flash.
I stunned them.
Yep, I'm watching.
I
I'm ulti.
Watch these.
I'm on Elliot. I started. Oh, that's a stun landing. If Pavelta gets blown up, who now unstoppable? He's going to get CC'd up. Dashan looking to protect him. It's actually enough. I got that.
I have W.
I stunned them.
Come. I have W. Stun him.
I can't do anything. I'm on nice. You got it.
If they hang around, Immortals might have a chance to get back in this. Look at Huni!
Trying to snipe Huni. Will get protected by the statue. Oh! Pavelta melts his sticks and is destroying people. A CLG claims game number